Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi everybody, my name is Carrie White and I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Hi, Carrie.
Probably a drug addict too. Since I got here drooling on myself at the Venice Methadone Clinic, walking around the house with a propane torch, and if it melted, I smoked it. Thank you, Lydia, for asking me to share. This meeting is such a constant celebration. If I ever take a cake here, I want somebody to play I want our pianist to play the Last Dance, please. That's what I always have a vision that I should be cremated, put in a disco ball, and everybody pass me around at a memorial and playing the Last Dance, because I take my program seriously. I don't think there's anybody in this room that used casually. I don't think we can stay sober casually. But we are not a glum lot, and I didn't come here to have a bad time. I already had a bad time. So I'm a bit of a goof. Still the party girl. And I'm still having my pink cloud, and that is a victory of Alcoholics Anonymous for 30 years. So I couldn't be more grateful. I believe I'm in 30 years grace period. Dead girl walking. I love our birthdays. Happy birthday to everybody and those of you who celebrated the new step of taking a chip and entering into this threshold of victory over a deadly disease. We don't beat this thing. We, at best, can keep it in remission. I'm just visiting for 30 years. So far, you guys are cool. You're doing a good thing with me. Doing a great job. I got here when I was almost 40 years old, so you can see what a great job AA has done with me. I don't mind. When I got here, before I got here, nobody was saying keep coming back to me. They were like, get out of here. I'm in a fetal position on the dealer's doorstep, and my idea of a good evening was a 6-day run. So I, like people say in here all the time, I was not a vision for you. Okay, so what we wore, what happened, and what we wear now. My inventory is every year I see if I can still fit in my spandex pants that I used to wear with roller skates and cruise around my salon. I'm a hairdresser. This fan is like really kind of a little, I feel like I'm doing a Chevrolet commercial up here. Anyway, let's see. So, I am an only child of 2 alcoholics. I'm a firm believer that you don't plant 2 peaches and get a pineapple. I came out saying, where's my drink? I always say I was conceived in a vat of alcohol, and the seed was loaded, Dad, and that's it. My father left when I was born on a little street called Burton Way. We used to call that the gateway to Beverly Hills. I called it the gateway to hell. And I never made it into Beverly Hills. My mother started dating early on. My father left when I was about 4 years old. And by the time I was 5, I was mixing drinks for my mother and her boyfriends. That wasn't complicated as kids getting into computers today. And it was bourbon, it was 7-Up, it was warm, it was sweet. It was my connection to my mother. My mother was an artist that worked at home. I'd sit on the floor, I'd see her through that amber glass. When I'd bring those drinks over to my mother and her boyfriend, of the time. If I made the glass too full, I would sip it, and that was my connection. Again, I felt it. It was warm. It was sweet. It was perfect. I got it. So let me see. So anyway, so he picked us up, this one boyfriend she married, and offered us a new home in this new area that was being built called Pacoima. And all I knew is I was just getting Rosewood Elementary down. Now I'm like at Terabella Elementary, and I thought, how do they get their hair so high? I don't know. They were like all pachucos, and it was like crinoline skirts, and this is in the 50s, and I did like that spin, that pachuco hop looked like a lot of fun. And so that was it. Now this stepfather became a molesting, child-beating stepfather, and it was evident pretty early on that it was safer for me to be across the tracks in San Fernando with the gangs than it was to go home. Eventually he got busted. He was busy with the entire neighborhood, and my mother blew out in pure alcoholic divorce fashion and went missing. I ended up in a foster home. And one of those parties across the tracks in San Fernando got busted, and I was about 10 years old, and I was like this little mascot for this gang. And the cops were, they busted this house. I'm sure Danny Trejo was there. And the cops came in, and they said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm fine, how are you?" They said, "Wrong answer, you're coming with us." My point is that I remember that as clearly as I remember parking into the lot here this morning, and I remember the message of my disease: you better be careful. They could take this away from you. I think we're always, well, I'll say for myself, I was always smart about alcohol, what it did for me and what it was. I'm always surprised when someone comes in there and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm an alcoholic." I'm like, really? What were you doing for the last 5 years? Because nobody comes here when they bump their car or can't find their shoe. I never drank before 5. I'm like, well, sorry for you. You lost the whole day. Maybe you're not an alcoholic. I don't know. That seems a little weird to me. I've questioned people who went to college that are alcoholics. I couldn't get that far. I left algebra because they wouldn't tell me what the X and the Y was. I was started melting diet pills and, so anyway, so here I am at Pacoima, back to Pacoima. So my mother comes back 3 years later, just when I got a handle on San Fernando High, and I'm the perfect pachuco now. My peg skirt and my stacked red henna hair, and we used to put hairpins in our hair. That's how we fought. We put the hairpins in. Anyway, lowriders, those pipes. I hear pipes, I still get a thrill. I'm like, I've never missed a Peterson lowrider show. First love. Anyway, so now my mother comes back, she picks me up and she drops me off in the middle of Hollywood High, and somebody said, "Are you a Delta?" I said, "No, I think I'm a Lutheran." "Why? What's it to you?" "Well, you're on the Delta bench." And I mean, I never heard of Greek letters, or we were in a quad. I never heard of any Q letter words except for quarter and quick, and I don't know, it was all very culturally changed. All I knew was more drugs, more drinks, and then I met the Dreen sisters. Dexedrine, Benzedrine, those girls. And so then it was fox sweaters and vodka gimlets, and I could drink more because I was all speeded up, and that's all my life was always about, just anesthetizing. I was a complete science project. And I don't want to be all this long on my drunk-a-log. I would say if I had known about the 4th step in the inventory, I would have come here sooner. So much to write. But then the point is, aren't we excited that it's only 12 steps and not 250, because we'd have to do them all. Where are you? Oh, step 135. What a bitch. And then some old-timer comes up and smacks you on the back and says, 150, it's smooth sailing. Once you get to 150, you'll love the steps. Yeah. When Aloma brought me to my first meeting, I I guess my first meeting was Ohio Street, and Gary, who is here today, was the speaker. Beautiful Gary was speaking, and I'm like in a fog completely. I mean, the whole room looked like spin art and a Jackson Pollock painting. I don't know what. But I just heard about this guy talking about he used to take heroin and go down to the bottom of the ocean and watch the fish go by. And I thought, well, maybe there are some fun people here. Bless your heart, sweetheart. Oh, jeez. Let me say this. I love Alcoholics Anonymous just a little bit more than I love drugs and alcohol. That keeps me here. What I love is that I have a life, that I'm here to discuss anything. Anyway, I was going to say, so then Aloma took me to Cedars. She 12-stepped me for 12 years. I mean, what is wrong with her? Does she think junkies really read mail? She stick all this literature. I never even heard of that word before I got here. Literature, something to read, I don't know. And then that big book, no pictures. I mean, really? I don't know. So then she takes me to Cedars, and and we're going up I go, oh, these must be the steps to Alcoholics Anonymous everybody's talking about. Just clueless. Been a blonde too long already. So here I'm in Hollywood High, and then everybody graduates, and then, I don't even know how I graduated. I was like I say, across the street at the Pancake House melting those diet pills. And then somebody introduced me to hairdressing. They asked me to model for them for hairdressing, and that was a miracle for me. That was, because first of all, I'm ADD, and I ended up having a career out of this thing that I didn't have any other trade. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to be an actress. That's all you do. If you go to Hollywood High, you're going to be an actress. You just say so anyway. You don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. Got a part for me? I got a job once in this movie, Beach Blanket Bingo or something. I don't know. It was supposed to surfing movies. They were very popular in the 60s. And then they said, the guy on the megaphone, he says, okay, pick up your boards, everybody into the surf. And I just sat there, and they said, well, okay, up into the surf. And I said, oh, I don't surf. Don't you have extras for that? And they said, you are the extra. I'm like, oh, well, I had to fold up my towel and exit with my tail between my legs. Anyway, so much for my career in that. Anyway, so here I am. Now I'm a hairdresser, and I put myself through beauty school working at Bob's Big Boy, and thank God for those diet pills, really, because I could go to school from 9 to 5, change outfits, uniforms, and then I would work at Bob's from 6 to midnight, and then that just got exhausting. And whenever I had a moment off, I'd go dancing with the most fun people in beauty school, and then one of them asked me to marry him, and I said, oh yeah, sure. I was exhausted. I was having a midlife crisis at 17, and he lived with his parents who had a swimming pool. I thought, this is perfect. I'm exhausted. And I just reclined by the pool for a while. And then he didn't come home one night, and he wasn't with a girl, he was with a guy, and I said, well, that's nice, but I don't think I want to work with this. And we annulled that marriage, and then I found out he wasn't all that gay for 5 minutes, and I was pregnant. And so I had another spiritual awakening at that moment, and I knew I was going to be the divorced alcoholic mother with the only child, and I gave that child for adoption. And I didn't tell this story forever. Nobody knew I had another child. Because I didn't want to identify with it, I didn't want to identify with him, I didn't want to have anything to do with that background that was done. And because of these steps, because I made my amends to this guy, when I had about 5 years of sobriety, he knew where I was, he called me up and he said, remember our child? And I said, well, I think I spent my life trying to forget. And he said, well, I had dinner with her last night, and she's looking for you. May I give her your phone number? And thank God I wasn't drooling on myself in that Venice methadone clinic, and that is another gift of Alcoholics Anonymous I could never pay back. And it's a miracle for me because, I mean, if you go to try to find your child that you gave for adoption, you need to know not only what day it happened, they like that, you need to know what time. And I didn't know. I knew it was around the end of February. That's all I knew. That was out of my realm. So anyway, so there's that full circle on that story. As a result of being sober, as a result of making amends, and as a result of working with newcomers and sponsees, I got to sit there and listen to her and let her speak and not be a defensive person. Because when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, my whole life had been, if nobody moves, nobody gets hurt. Admit nothing, blame everyone. You know, and that all shifted when I got here. So anyway, my story is crazy. You know, if I had to wrap it up in 1 minute, it would be I drank and used for as long as I could, and then I drank and used 10 years after that on automatic pilot. When I got out of beauty school, somebody else who had been nice to me during the time that I was finishing that pregnancy said, well, you're going to say thank you and marry me? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Then I married him. I didn't want to be married to him, so I had 2 babies from him, and then with him, and then I ran out of there like a Mad Hatter, and then I married the man of my dreams, and I had 2 kids with him, Mr. Shampoo, who drank a lot, smoked a lot, did everything a lot, and I thought, oh, perfect, he'll never complain about me. And he did. And for most everybody, you know, I would always say, oh, another lightweight. I just chalk it up, another lightweight. I knew I was in trouble. And my 2 kids from my second husband went to their father when they were about 10. And I had 2 little ones from Richard, a beautiful man. And then somebody wrote, I love you on a mirror and cocaine. So I said, well, I guess I love you too. And then I took off with her. And so that's my story. I crossed every line possible. I used to say about heroin, what do you want to do, like it? I mean, it's a dead-end trip. And I ended up doing everything, except I never got arrested again. I bought a car because it had cruise control. I thought, oh, perfect, I'll never get arrested. I'll put it at the speed limit. Then I can light my pipe and do my business driving home. I was so mad when I found out there were heroin dealers in Malibu, because that's where I bottomed out. And then I drive to Laurel Canyon, you know, every day. But oh well, c'est la vie. I got mad when I saw my dealer in an AA meeting. I thought, what the hell's he doing in here? What if I change my mind? Get back there. You know? Took me 6 hospitals to get clean. I mean, I really was not a subject of ever believing. So, okay, so now I have about 15 minutes and we'll move along. So what it was like, you got the picture. I was crazy. Spandex pants, roller skates, doing hair, scissors in one hand, hat and sunglasses. I had this big salon in Beverly Hills. You know, people come in November and leave December. It was just crazy. It was like a crazy time. I did everybody I wanted to do. I went all over. I was taken all over the world, and all I remember is like a few, you know, the hash in London and the wine in Paris and the beer in India, you know, and people would say, didn't you go to the Louvre? I'm like, the Louvre? I went to Maxine's. What are you talking, what's the Louvre? I didn't even know. I got to do all those things again in sobriety, thank goodness. Anyway, so after wanting to get rid of that nasty little heroin habit and having to cut down to Mickey Big Mouth and give up vodka, I don't recommend that for giving. If you want to give up vodka, go to heroin. It's not good. I finally got some kind of idea that I was dying. And I think that's what's really helped me here for 30 years, because when I got here, I knew it wasn't about to party or not to party. It was really about to live or to die. And I always have to keep that ever present. And the other thing I always have to keep ever present is keeping my children in between me and a drink and a drug. Because I said I'm sorry a million times, you know, but I did the same thing over again, over and over and over again. I knew every saying before I got here, one day at a time, no matter what. Willing to go to any length, oh hell yeah, and I did. Free Graham and Gardena, what? I'm not good for taking directions. Really, Free Graham and Gardena, how do you get there? You know, we didn't have all that, you know. I found a power greater than myself called Waze. Today now. I like that ways. And, cell phones, nobody had cell phones. The dealers would have some big cute, hello? I'm like, what's that? That's a phone. I'm like, whoa. Anyway, I always say, I still Jones when somebody says pager. I go, pager. Jesus. Did you have to say that? There's no phone booths anymore. I used to Jones when I drive by the phone booths. Now they're all gone. Anyway, so I keep my kids in between me and a drink and a drug. I learned how to come here when I wanted to and when I didn't. All the things, we had somebody take a birthday cake and said they learned what they needed to learn in their first 5-6 months, and it's true. You just got to keep doing it. It's one day at a time program. And if the point is, as in How It Works tells us, if you want to know how it works, if you're new here and you don't even know what I said, one thing, except for spandex and roller skates, How It Works is written. I'll disappoint you, you'll disappoint me, people change. That's not the deal around here. Probably no human power could relieve us. That's also included. And how it works is how it works. And nothing is more generous to me than that first sentence. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. That's huge. That's just one sentence. If you know nothing else, one sentence that tells us we do not have to create our success here, that it's already been done for us, and we just have to follow a path. I had my sponsors out there. They're pushing shopping carts now. Some of them got 2 shopping carts because they're super cool. But the ego is last to go. This is an ego-smashing program. My disease hears everything I hear. I've been to every meeting I've been to, and I have this idea I know seriously in my heart. My program, my foundation says, you can't even have a little shot. There's no dream, or illusion for me that I could have a shot of Stoli, an ice cold shot of Stoli and be fine, that I could just grab that little jigger and throw it down my throat. I can feel it go down my throat and grasp my heart and clutch it and give me a cardiac arrest on the spot. So my disease, you know what she says? Audrey. She says, so start with a beer. Because it's clever, it's cunning, it's baffling, it's powerful. And we hear in How It Works, remember that it's cunning, baffling, and powerful? I think I had 10 years of sobriety when I finally got the important word in that sentence. It's remember, not cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's the remember. And in How It Works, when I couldn't hear anybody read it when I was new, I came through the friendly house. Eventually, Aloma grabbed me by the nape of my neck after my 6th hospital. I think I used waiting for the ride to the hospital because, I had 20 minutes, and I know a dealer everywhere. Anyway, I couldn't hear, so they had me write How It Works. And if you have never had this experience, that's where I got my courtship with Alcoholics Anonymous. I let the words come off the page, into my eyes, through my heart, out my arm, through the pen, through the ink, on the paper, and I saw how it worked in my own hand, and it became my program. And one of the things that was so significant for me in that How It Works, page 58 to 60, was do not be discouraged. That was so huge for me. It was such fresh breath and blood transfusion. Just do not be discouraged. Really? Oh, thank you. I was so discouraged. And again, it says, the point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. If the point is of our sobriety of this program, that also means the point of my relationships. It means the point of my work. It means the point of my one day at a time. I cannot stay sober unless I do grow along spiritual lines one day at a time. Sometimes that just means not honking at someone that is taking too long to make a right-hand turn. I feel that's a spiritual movement, anything. But we all have to do something, I believe, to stay sober. We all did. I had to do something to get high every day. Yesterday's drink didn't do. So we're not stupid. We're just crazy. We know what we're doing. We defeat science, anybody who's in here, I think. And my shoes match, and I do know where I park my car. That's exciting. Anyway, one of the things that scared me was, and I'll say this today, the only thing that does scare me today is my disease. But what is attached to my disease, very seriously, is the workshop of my disease, which is my insanity. I always heard when I was new that, you know, your disease lives in your head and your recovery lives in your heart, and thank goodness they don't both live in the same place. We can work with this. And we come to meetings to quiet the screaming in our heads so we can hear that whisper of our hearts, and that was always lovely. And then I knew that what lives in my head, that insanity, is the workshop of my disease. And it was important in the beginning, and it's still important today. And the key to my sobriety is to protect my sanity. My big miracle for me is the third tradition. The only requirement is the desire to stay sober. That seems impossible to me. I never wanted that. I never could imagine that. I don't know that I could ever have that again. I see people go in and out. This is not, it tells us again in how it works, they are not at fault. This is not a judgment center. This is not a shame-based program. This is about to get well. And the people that are having trouble staying here need more help and more love and more guidance, not less and being shunned. And we really need to embrace that all the time. I really get crazy when I hear somebody say, oh, I fired my sponsor. I'm like, really? What was the medical plan there? How are you? I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just another drunk. Maybe you can hear me, and maybe you can't. Maybe you can hear somebody else who's, you know, got more tattoos. Well, I don't have any, but I tried. I couldn't. It hurt. I couldn't do it. I started it in Pacoima, but anyway. So how am I going to stay sane? I mean, that's not my nature. And it's really not my joy, you know. I love this as principles over personalities. I always think, yeah, I dare you. That's what goes through my head when somebody reads the tradition. And then it says, we have no outside opinions. I thought, yeah, because we got a lot in here. We got enough in here to keep us busy. Yeah, I don't need to look at what you're doing. I got enough stuff of my own clutter. Clean your own closet, Carrie. So when I was new, they told me how to protect my sanity. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It still is just as important as, you know, as it was in the beginning, as it is in having 30 years, because I hear people go out with 20, 30 years, and they love this program like I do, and they have commitments, and they have sponsees, and they have families and big world, and all of a sudden they have one insane moment. Scares me. So hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If I don't eat, I get crazy. I don't know about you. What's the matter with you? I haven't eaten all day. I'm feeling crazy. Oh, well, whose responsibility is that? Mine. I paid good attention to my drug and drink program. I didn't wait for the dealer to call and say, how's your gram, dearie? Is it down a little? You know, no gram like the program. Okay. Thou shalt not be corny. I can't help it. Anyway, so it's important that I eat, and it's also important what I eat. If I just do, you know, coffee and donuts, that's not really, don't people get away with Twinkie murders or something? I don't know. Sugar, I always say sugar cane, Novocaine, cocaine. And why would I do near beer? It's not a good idea for me to be near beer. Ever. You know what I mean? It's like, please. My kids weren't allowed to say tinfoil for 3 years in my house. Anyway. So, and anger, it tells us that's the number one resentment. It will take us out. I don't question this program. I've never seen anybody, anything more successful with alcoholics than Alcoholics Anonymous. I see a lot of people go out. I'm like, where have you been? Oh, I'm doing agape now. Oh, I'm doing the Course in Miracles. Oh, I'm back to Science of Mind. Oh, I'm a Catholic again. Okay, good. But we do have Father Terry in here, by the way. You know what I mean? If those things treated, if Kabbalah treated, you know, alcoholism, we wouldn't have Rabbi Campbell in here. So this is my church. This is my sacred grounds. And this is what I pay attention to first. Then I go dancing. Okay, so anger. I can't afford the luxury of it. Then they told me even if I had a resentment, I never even heard of that. That was another word I never heard of. I heard I hate you, but I didn't hear I have a resentment. So sophisticated for an alcoholic. Anyway, and then L for lonely doesn't mean are you lonely tonight. It means are you isolated? Are you getting to meetings? And my idea of loneliness, of treating loneliness, is to isolate. You want to go out with us tonight? No, I'm feeling a little lonely. I'm going to stay in. But that's the truth. So, but I know my truth. And by the way, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. It tells us that it's all about the capacity to be honest with ourselves. That is the winning tool here. And it doesn't mean I even have to be honest with you. It means, do I know the difference of the truth? And that's what I have to always remember. So lonely, go to meetings when you want to and when you don't. And T for tired, people sign murder confessions. They didn't even do if you keep them up long enough. What? Where do I sign? I did it. I swear I did. Anyway, so that's pretty simple. You know, we go to meetings. It seems simple, but then we got this complicated head, you know, that will resist, that will get lazy. I needed a line of Coke to put one leg out of the bed and another line to get the other one out. And I do a lot of conversations with my higher power, you know. I did them before I got here. Dear God, let the dealer be home. Dear God, don't let me get arrested. I mean, it's nothing's new. I just changed my priorities. You know, so I don't know. AA is my religion. AA is my church. My idea of God has changed 1,000,000 times. I have 10 grandchildren. Wow. They're all different religions or none. They are. I had a little granddaughter tell me the other day, she said, we were walking by the 2+2 meeting there after lunch, and she says, you know, Nana, I don't believe in God, but I do believe in Santa Claus. I said, okay. She said, yeah, we're not a religious family, you know. I said, yeah, I know. She says, we believe in nature. I said, that's great. Who cares? I do believe in Alcoholics Anonymous, though. It has never failed me in 30 years. Thank you so much. I guess I stay here and you raise your hand. Let's see, do I read something or what? Oh, okay. I'm going to repeat your question. Who has a question? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How is your relationship with all of your children now?
How is my relationship with all my children now? We have been through the program together, you know, for 30 years. They've seen my drinking and using, and they've seen more of the living, breathing life of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's a very respectful, loving relationship. Like I say, some are very religious. I am not particularly. Got all swings of the political field and fashion and taste and whatever. And what I have learned as a parent from Alcoholics Anonymous is I'm just open and loving and try to be an example of this program, what I'm taught in here, these principles and behaviors I use with my children. If I didn't sponsor, if this program didn't insist, because it does insist, you know, it doesn't say our primary purpose is to stay sober, period. It says and help the other alcoholic who still suffers. And by doing that, by being a sponsor, I learned how to be a mother. And that's really, really important because I was raised by wolves. I had no parents. I had no guidelines for any of this stuff. So you all taught me how to be a mother and how to work this program with my kids. You know, I had 2 kids that were in the program. I have a son that has been in and out of this program, followed me in here. He's not particularly in it now, you know. I don't know. You know, it's scary to me. He'd keep coming back with tattoos of People he lost their initials on his arm, and I thought, who's going to walk in this room and have an initial on my son's arm? I don't know. I can't go there. All I can know is that I can be an example. And I couldn't, when he went out, say, that's so upsetting, I'm going to drink too. That's not going to get him back in here. So it's really being an example of Alcoholics Anonymous that has taught me how to say I'm sorry and not defend myself and participate. And I'm cool with my grandkids. I go surfing with my grandson. Well, I can't stand up, really. So I can get that wetsuit on. Okay, thank you. Yes?
You say your father left when you were young. What's the story behind that?
Okay, my father left when I was young. Let me full circle this, that my mother died at 54 years old in County General Hospital, and they wrote on her death certificate that she died of pneumonia. And so part of my heart and my program is to always be loud and clear that this is not a shame-based program or illness, and that she died of alcoholism. Not one medical doctor mentioned that. The same with my father. And he died of this disease in Chicago. And then I found out, my father, who I never talked to and never knew, one time he called me when I was 26 and wanted to borrow money. Hi. Anyway, and then he died, and some girl told me that, some girl, this is how I feel about blood and relatives. She said she was a cousin, okay. She said that my father was in AA for 9 months. I said, oh no. I was so comfortable hating him, and I love everybody in AA. Now I don't like my father. It was very annoying. I never said the word father till everybody grabbed my hand and said the Lord's Prayer, and here it was like, Father, no. And it never was like a good thing, Father. So rest in peace. I surpassed both of them in their alcoholism, and I'm sorry that they did not get this program. Aloma literally took my mother to all the same meetings she took me. She took her to Ohio Street, Rodeo. She took her to Saturday night. I don't know what was Saturday night, Cedar. And my little tiny alcoholic mother said, that's nice that those people have a place to go to. And she got her little vodka out of her plastic bag and snuck a drink, Aloma said, and never made this program. And then I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and I see her name up in all these rooms. But by the grace, my mother's name was Grace, and then they had me look up that word grace, which means an unmerited assistance, divine assistance, I mean, as far as a power greater than myself goes, I feel like my parents gave me the greatest lesson in their death, and every day that I'm clean and sober, they did not die in vain from this disease. So that's a healing for me. Next.
I'm sure there are many, but can you tell one story of an example of a turning point that allowed you to want to embrace this program the way you do?
Okay. Can I tell one? I'm sure there's many stories. He said yes. It's like, what brought you to alcohol? I love normal people. They say, well, what made you get sober? Like there was one thing. I said about 2,000 bad nights. I don't know. So what in AA made me embrace this program? I was the craziest newcomer. Oh my God. I mean, I was doing everything on the edge of being sober, but not sober. You know what I mean? I'd want them in the recovery house to leave the coffee overnight for me. I wanted that coffee in the morning. Don't wash the pot out, I'd say. I want that coffee in the morning because I figured it had more chemicals in it. That was my brain. It'll be better. The metal sitting all night. Oh yeah. And then there was and then I heard 3 people, 1 out of every 3 that somebody's going to die, somebody's going to relapse, and somebody's going to stay sober. And I thought, I want to be the one that stays sober. But we'd go to Ah Feng's restaurant and we'd order. We didn't have any money, so we just order tea, and we'd ask them to bring the mustard, the wasabi mustard, and we'd drink the tea, and then we'd watch each one take a turn to take the wasabi spoonful of mustard and watch our eyes blow out like a cartoon and tear, and we go, isn't this cool? It's almost like cocaine, We'd be like, the sobriety's not bad, But I wasn't sober. The big shift came when I copied how it worked. something melted in my heart about that. Something gave me that, that thing that if I had lost my hairdressing license and a huge, fantastic career, and I had no hopes of ever doing that. I thought I'd work at Fatburger or something, you know, once I got things together. And something I was turning, here's a monumental moment. I was making a right-hand turn, and I remember thinking, if I had the coffee commitment at an Alano club or something, Carrie's Corner, and I would always have a roof over my head, I would have clothes on my children's back and mine, and life would be good. And that was the bottom line for me. That really was like to embrace my sobriety and you know, and of course put my life back together. Is there one last question? Yes, sir.
You talk about your toughest amends or how you
My toughest what?
amends.
Amends? My toughest amends? Jeez. They're all different. You know, they're all different. I think my amends got a shift when somebody explained to me, like for finances, it's not your money, it's theirs. You know, and I just somehow making an amends was about making an amends to myself, to make amends to other people. It was part of the bandages that were going to make me whole. It was my side of the street. How I was received was never an issue for me. I knew that came from my heart, and how I made the amends was what was going to restore me to being someone who could, and what I wanted to do and never could do when I was high. I could never let you know how high I was. So I wanted to always be able to have my head up and look everybody in the face and walk down any side of the street. So the beauty about sobriety for me is to be able to hold my head up high, and making amends was the big piecework for that. So thank you very much.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious. Do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal what that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.